Hello, friends, and welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast. Another wonderful episode with an audience. We have living people behind this camera here tonight. Actually, we're not talking to ourselves if you think you were going mad. And we just want to introduce our guests. We welcome back Jenny Moore.
Thank you.
Pleasure. We did do an episode with Jenny Moore a couple of episodes ago, and that was a lot about her journey, bit of a backstory, really interesting. So please watch that one back if you are interested, because we're not going to go back on it again. We're going forward tonight as well. So another wonderful opportunity to come together. Our sort of friends that have come here tonight have all put some questions in as well, which we're going to get to very shortly. So, Jenny, since last time we spoke, are you ready now? I feel it'd be a good chance to start, because we talked a lot about even your journey, the spiritual movement going back and things like that, but I feel it'd be a good place to start is the here and now.
Yes.
And I know you're very aware of health and well-being at the minute, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on even people as upcoming mediums, people getting into the work. Do you think there is more awareness now of your health and well-being that goes along with it all, that perhaps wasn't there with those that have come before us that have done a lot of this work?
I started off being an holistic healer first. I went off to uni and started off with reflexology, and that's how I started my journey, as we said last time. But learning all what I knew about essential oils, obviously reflexology and body massage, it taught me then about the energy. And energy is so important. It surrounds everything. And if we don't know energy, how on earth are we not going to know spirit? And I can't get through that to people. You'd be surprised how many mediums who don't understand that. I can't get that. When I say to them, what energy are you working with? And they just go, oh, what are you talking about? I just cannot get through to them how important it is that they must know their own energy first. You must know how to ground. You must know how to portray your energy. You must know how to work your own energy. How on earth are you going to open the doors to something you can't yet see? When we're talking about seeing, hearing and feeling, we're going to open the doors to an unknown side of the world. And we're going to invite them in. We don't know what we are. We don't know how to get through the day. A lot of people, and half these mediums are all suffering with diabetes. How many mediums? I mean, over the years, last 20 odd years, I know a lot of mediums. When I was up and coming, that seemed to be the one thing that a lot of mediums suffered with was diabetes and issues with the pancreas. That was years. For years, I've known that, and I've always questioned that and said, "Why have they got all these?" And it's because they all eat. I don't know, they eat a full meal before they come out, which I don't do. Excuse me. I'm talking about this, and look at me, I'm dying as I'm talking. But again, that's all to do with the energy that surrounds us, as we know. But for me, it's so important that a medium understands their own energy. Because how can we hope to work with our living friends to give them hope, to give them guidance, and to give them the answers they require for their movement forward, for their encouragement and enlightenment, if actually we don't know what we're doing? So it's so important that we understand when before a service, I don't eat anything heavy. I only eat certain foods. I don't eat anything that draws me energy down. Afterwards, I eat energy that's going to give me energy to pick myself up afterwards. So it's a very fine balance. It's about the water we drink. You know, knowing that water holds memory, water holds energy, and knowing that when we're working, we're drinking water not just because we're thirsty, but because it's replenishing and it's helping the spirit connect. Knowing all these simple things is the very basics, and yet nobody's ever taught that. So I just think at the minute, with the world the way it is, so many health issues that's going on with the skies and the water and the food, they are trying, the establishment, and we all know there's something dodgy going on. I don't care what anybody says. We all know that. And we know that there is a regime out there to cut us away from our spiritual connection to the source. Nobody will tell me any otherwise. Anything from the neck down So switch the heart off so there's no connection to the source. And nobody will tell me on the other ones.
Yeah.
And those who want to work with spirit must push that right through.
Yeah.
And we must learn now, more so now, because we're being assaulted in a very spiritual manner. It's not just mentally, it's not just emotionally, and it's not just physically. It's on every realm, and more so to do with the spirit.
Yeah, definitely.
And therefore, if the spirit can't sustain the battering, then obviously then it comes into the mental, then it comes into the emotional, then you start to feel it as a disease.
The physical, yeah.
And then that then starts to work back out. And then for me, this is when the dying process comes in, because then it's the spirit starting to come back out. Yeah. So it comes back out through the physical, the emotional, to the mental, back into the spirit. And that's when then the cord gets cut. And that's when who gets the soul? Because at the minute, I think there's a fight for them. And then nobody will tell me that, and otherwise neither.
Right.
And there's a massive spiritual war. And as long as we refuse to accept it, then crack on and live the way you want to do. Yeah. If you want to live in a spiritual world, you have no other option but to open your eyes and see what's going on.
We can't hide away from anything. I think there's a lot going on there. I was thinking about this on the way today, is that I think the greatest sort of weapon that they've got against humanity, if you will, is ignorance. It's our own ignorance, and we can't hide. We've got to step up. We've got to step into our power, into the I am power, and realise that we are sovereign being, and we have to say no. We can't. A lot of stuff happens. The wars have happened in the world. Anything that happens negatively, wars and battles. And again, Albert Einstein talks about it, that the world will be destroyed not by those that do evil, but by good people that stand back and do nothing. So we've got to be the best versions we can be as mediums, as psychics, as healers. And just want to make a point what you were saying before, and we're already learning this about the work in the workshop that we run here, is that even in healing, we read energy. It's all about feeling. Sense. You are energy healers.
When I first started my reflexology, when I was telling you last time about my journey, when I started to learn about the energy, because Spirit used to say to me, it's all in the energy.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've just left the army. I was a professional killer. Yeah, but that's what you're being paid to be. No matter if you're a storeman or no matter what job you are, you're being paid. Anyway, the point being is, when I went to learn about reflexology, Spirit taught me first, as soon as I got either the hands or the foot in my hand, and I was massaging it, but through my fingers, they were allowing me to go into the body. It was like x-rays in my thumbs. And it was weird, but as that, and then they used to stand behind me and say, now as you're doing that, trace your eyes up the energy. And then they started to open it all up. And that, I can't tell you how marvellous it is when you ask Spirit to teach you something that you just don't think you know. And then all of a sudden this lesson comes to you. And it's not because I'm anything special, it's because I'm a pesterer. Seriously, I'm a pesterer. I pester Spirit, and I say, I want to know this. So in the end, I could take anybody's pair of feet or hands or head or eye. Sounds stupid, but anywhere on the body, and I could tell you what was wrong with them. Yeah. Not because I was a doctor, because I wasn't. But I could tell you about exactly what the energy was doing. So my work now, even with doing readings, those who've had private readings off me, I take their hands first so I can get their energy. Their energy then is going piercing through me. So I can pick up that energy before then we connect to the Spirit. So I can feel what's going on with that person.
A lot of mediums don't like working that way, do they? They think
because that's ego, isn't it?
Yeah, they think, oh, you're picking up psychically. But I just think, that's again the sort of the toxic side of readings. But I think it's really important. But we need to read the energy. We're reading the energy. Yeah. You are the soul.
If that's what's going on, if you've got a bad back, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean because I'm something special, because I'm going, have you got a bad back? It's because your energy is telling me you've got a bad back. But that doesn't mean, oh, look at Jenny, she's a smarty pants. It means Jenny's doing something that another medium's not doing, because they don't want to come across as being psychic. They don't want to come across as being, well, look at me, that means I'm dropping my energy. We are physical, and therefore we're picking up on that energy of that physical person. So and that's what my guide wants me to do, in order to get that connection. So then I can lift it from there into the heart, into the head, and open it to the Spirit.
Yeah.
Once they then step in.
some of the, I don't want to use the word rules and get into all that, but some of the even opinions amongst some people in the movement can be very restrictive and they can get in people's heads.
Well, don't you think that's the wrong side trying to sort of tell you not to do it?
But
Because that way then, because if the naughties don't want you to do that, because I call them all naughties, I don't give them any names. I don't do demons and naughty people, because I know all these mediums out there who don't believe it. Again, go back to school.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're doing. But for me, they're all naughties. And for me, if they don't want us to learn that, of course it was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, you look stupid doing that.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And they question you then, and then you turn around and go, well, everybody else is not doing it, so therefore I must be the odd one out here. I was the odd one out, and I was quite happy to go, I'm the odd one out. I'm the freak in the corner who's doing it.
Yeah.
My guides work with me in that manner. And I'm quite happy to say I'm happy with where I am. And I know I can use my clairvoyance or my mediumistic skills in either manner. If I have to heal, I have to heal. If I have to give clairvoyantly, give clairvoyantly. But either way, I know I've got these beautiful spirit people around me that have got the knowledge. And I'm not that egotistical to turn around to my guides and say, well, you're a healer. I'm not doing that because that's going to make me look stupid.
Yeah.
Because never once have they made me look stupid.
You can't limit yourself, can you?
No.
Because that's where I think people maybe entrap themselves in the mind. As soon as you limit yourself by false belief systems, by rules and things, and ultimately this is an art. Mediumship is an art form. You are guided by the subtle energies of unconditional love, and you have to work authentically.
Yes,
and you are it. And I always say this all the time. You don't work for spirit. You work with spirit. You're a
team.
partner. You're a team. You work with spirit, and I think there's a lot of fundamentals that I feel has been lost. But everything happens for a reason.
Well,
it
comes back to what you started with, Jenny, knowing yourself. Because if you know yourself, any of these words they don't matter. They're going to be water off a duck's back.
And I've said for many years that the establishment at the minute has been infiltrated, and nobody will tell me again any otherwise. I'm quite happy to say I've never been. I'm quite happy to, so pleased with myself saying I've never been to any of the courses that they hold in certain parts of the country for big money.
Same.
And I'm quite happy to say I'm one of those because I'm authentic with me and my guides. And I say to everybody, why? And you can also tell a good medium who was a good medium, who then have gone, say, down south towards the south end of the country, and then come back doing what they want or doing their way. And they've lost who that person was. You cannot, this is not, what I do is not restricted in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
What we do here is the people I come to connect with may not connect with either of you. The people who connect with me, who I've been down that depression route. I know what depression is, anxiety is, and PTSD is. I should spirit gather all those type of people towards me.
Yeah, 100%.
You may not have that in yours. I worked with a lady many years ago, and we used to go and do psychic nights and things. And she'd had a very abusive relationship. I've never been in that situation, but I had depressive people. And every time we went, we used to actually stop and say to the lady who was organising it, can you just switch us around? Because the lady she had was for me, and I had hers. Because the energy was completely, and she used to get all the ladies that had been abused, or gentlemen, don't matter, but she used to get all them type of readings, and I got all the depressed and PTSD nights.
Yeah.
And every night, and the two of us at the same time would just go, and we both know we've got the wrong readings.
Makes such a good point, because that's something I've had said for years. I said there's people for people.
Yes.
For that reason. And obviously me and Stephen work together here at the Purple Mountain, and so often we'll say, somebody will say, I'd like a reading. So would you like it who with? Look, we've not got an ego that way.
Exactly.
And this is where it doesn't matter. So it does.
Oh, it does.
Who you're drawn to matters. Whatever you get a pull to, you might see a picture of one of us who got him.
Yes. And I do believe that.
Who you're drawn to, it's so important, and we understand that because, like you said, that empathy, that journey, that's why a lot of people in this work have had quite tough journeys, because I think they choose it for the empathy. It's
I do believe you can't be a blooming good medium if you haven't got the journey.
Oh, 100%.
You get all these young ones, and they're very good, and they're very good at picking up energy or working with spirit, but they don't know how to put the story over, or they don't know how to bring the healing through because they've not had that journey. They've had no life experience.
Yeah, that comes
and it's
through
only,
life, though, doesn't it?
you know, like obviously 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, we're very different people
Yeah,
now. You never stop learning.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we were quite fortunate to be brought in a home circle, which we really promote hugely. Home circles, you know, if you don't know one, start one. That's what I say. You know, they're great grounds to sit and just learn.
Exactly.
And not rushed. It can't be rushed. I'll tell you now, it's 8 years before. And I never thought I'd be doing some of the work I'm doing. It's just natural, and it should be.
Sitting in the energy.
Sitting in the energy. And I was just happy to be there, to be honest, with people that didn't think I was loony for some of the stuff I was experiencing. I just thought, I found my people.
Yes.
You know?
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to sit with friends and similar-minded people and then just sit and just enjoy the fact that all of you can connect that energy together and from it build something and build a bigger energy that's actually bigger than all of us together. And that's what people don't understand. That's what we should all be doing now. We should all be connecting. And yes, we're in Manchester and Wigan, but you know what? We should be connecting with you guys, energetically wise, on certain nights, and make that web bigger.
Yeah.
So again, and we spread it out, and I think certain centres or groups of people, whatever you want to call them, should make a point of once a month, make a point of connecting in a prayer circle or a healing circle.
At a certain time. I know somebody did that in, I think it was 2021. A friend of ours organised something, didn't they? She was in Liverpool, and it's everybody. If you've got a circle, if you've got a group, if you sat there, sit at this time, we're all sit.
And I said it years ago, and obviously, like on Halloween night and stuff like that. Now, I don't like the Halloween. For me, it's all for the naughtier side, and there's a lot more to it. But for me, I was quite happy to create energy where everybody could sit together and send out the love. Send out the love together. So, on whatever happens on them nights can get dissipated. Because I do believe there's a right and there's a wrong. And again, you've got to be walking around with a bucket on your head if you can't see that there's wrong in this world.
Yeah.
And there is something orchestrated, there's something working it. It's not just aimlessly just happening. It's very direct. It's directed amongst certain energies, certain thought patterns, and we have to be the alternative.
Yeah.
We have to be the ones that's also very orchestrated and very directed, and we also have to anchor that light. So if we do not anchor this light, we are going to lose.
Yeah.
And we're not going to lose, because we don't do lose, and I'm never on the losing side. But the point being is, we must encourage others to see the light and feel it.
Yeah.
And for me, now this is where we've got to start promoting outside circles, or they're coming together. I don't care if you go and sit in your garden at 6 o'clock and we all connect. Something has to happen where this web of healing now has to centre over us. And especially a bit like you said about England itself being the epicenter of where the energy is situated.
Definitely.
We now need to sit in it.
We are, but just, I've said this when me and Stephen are talking, for such a small country, God, do we have an impact on the world one way or another?
For years I've said this. Why was one country, you got America and Australia and the Africas and Asia and everywhere else, but everybody comes to England. And I'm not talking about immigrants, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everybody focuses on us for leadership. I know we battered everybody years ago and we took over everything. But the point being is, why?
Yeah.
Why was this one little country? You got Russia, 15, 20 times bigger than us.
Exactly.
America, Canada, Alaska, all massively bigger than us. And they're all kneeling to us saying, well, go on then, you can have it.
Yeah.
Something had to be here in the first place that started the energy rolling. And nobody, again, tell me otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So therefore, if we're here, we're all here for a reason. And we're all on this country for a reason. And we've all got to stamp our feet.
Definitely believe that.
I'm a big believer in that as well, because you get a lot of people we've met, really lovely people, and they go, I'm off to live in Bali and all this. I'm going to all these wonderful, enlightened places as such. And then I'm like, but that's great. I don't want to.
I would love to run away and go and live in a nice place.
So often,
but what's going to happen?
And I'll go, have come here for a reason. You're here,
and it is
light
filled.
isn't needed with the lights. It's where there's an absence.
I would love to go and sit in a beautiful place like Bali or Greece or wherever and sit on the beach and meditate all day with the sound of waves.
Yeah, sounds good. Look,
you know what I mean?
I can really imagine that right now.
yeah. You know what I mean? Yes, I would love that. And when I'm there, I go, oh yeah, I could live here and do this. Could I do it every day though?
Yeah.
I most probably could do. Once if I've got loads of money and I don't have to go to work and I can sit there all day humming, I can do it all. But wouldn't I get fed up with the fact that I can't go and help the people that really need it? Because that is who I am and that's what I'm here to do. And I'm here to work with people that are struggling. And I'm not talking about financially because I can help where I can, where that is. And I'm just talking about in energy. Again, kindness. People forgot what it is.
Yeah.
Just being there and having friendship and putting their arm around somebody, just saying a kind word. Even on Facebook, I mean, I can't stick Facebook, but sometimes it owes its place.
Yeah.
And if somebody's having a bad day, just a kindness.
Yeah.
And just, again, because we can turn the Facebook against them. Yeah. Because they're trying to turn it against us, and we can turn it back against them.
Everything's got a duality, hasn't it? I mean, in 2020 and that, you know, a lot of people were connecting, doing circles on Zoom and such around the world, and they were fantastic. People
and they didn't like it.
Yeah. Always a positive can come of everything that way.
And that's it, because they thought they could separate us.
Yeah.
So what did we do? We all connected it.
Yeah.
And we made it then into a big web. So what did they do? They had to stop it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Excuse me.
So, yeah.
Got this right blooming chesty thing.
But I think as well, on the positive, and I thought this during the past sort of 3-4 years, and I would say, when we call it the dark or the shadow, that the shadow and the dark is there for a reason as well, because for me, the past 3 years has really awoken a lot of people up. And I used to say, bring more lockdowns, bring more restrictions, because it would wake people more up.
And I think that's what.
And I think that's
why
where they think they're winning,
yes.
But they're not, because that is the other side. This sort of the psychology side is actually the dark's actually helping the light.
Yeah,
and I didn't think I don't think they thought it through. Yeah. I think they thought they could separate us, and I think they don't realise the resilience of humans. Yeah. As spiritual beings, and our natural calling is to be together. And to link together with naturally other good people. What
always surprises me as well, Jenny, is if someone comes out at the latest video on YouTube, or people like David Icke and that, and they'll ban them instantly. Now, what's the first thing anybody wants to do as soon as it's banned? What's that all about? I want to see it. I want to see what.
Exactly.
So it actually has the opposite effect. More people want to watch it.
I think sometimes it works for us. I mean, obviously, they're trying to stop us from doing any of this. But then I think there's got to be something out there that's obviously trying to help us as well.
Yeah.
Get us to the point of helping many, many other thousands of people and connect. There's many more people now waking up when I really thought we was at the end of it and thinking we can't wake any more people up.
Yeah.
But then we get this other wave of other people who would never have thought about. All of a sudden turn around saying, oh, something not right there.
Yeah.
And you're looking at people thinking, wow, have I missed something? Because there's another wave of waking up. It might be a soft awakening, but some people need that.
I think you made a good point, and you talked a little bit about the mediumship side and something that Albert, one of our teachers, often used to say to us in our circle and trance, is question everything.
Question everything.
It is, you know, our imagination, our inquisitiveness, you know, question things. Don't just believe, you know, we talk about things here on the earth, you know, question things. Don't be submissive. Don't be passive. Ask questions. Spirit love that when we ask questions.
I think the thing is, it's like, you know, we talked about circles and lovely groups like we have tonight. It's all very comfortable when we're all together. But when you stood up there, like you said, Jenny, and you're like, what do I really trust in? What do I really know? When you're going to stand up and that's when that's the test, if you want to call it that.
Well, you know? Years and years ago, I mean, I used to get up in a church, and about 2008, I got to the point where Spirit said, right, we're going to your conservatory and we'll teach you. When I had to get up there and come out in 2009, and actually then when Spirit said, do you trust us? And I said, yeah. And this is when, like, my friend Margaret, she used to run a church at the time, and I used to go to that church quite often. And the very first time they went, we're going to give you a list of names, and you're going to say them all. And it was like my big test. Do I say these names now because I make myself look cocksure of myself because I'm saying these names? Because again, mediums don't like working with names. It makes it look. But for me, that is where your proof sets.
Yeah.
If your dad's called John, there's no point in me saying, do you know a bloke called Frank? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, so I had to trust. And when Spirit said, point at that woman and say the word John, either I could have done that or gone, does anyone there know a John? And at first I did that because it was either, do you trust?
Yeah.
And then when it came to it, I bottled it. And I went, and we were doing so well up to this point because they took me out of my comfort zone. And this is what we're talking about. You've got to step out your comfort zone. And at that moment, when they said, point at that one lady and say the word John, and I went, oh, someone there's going to take me to John. And I could feel Spirit all going, oh. Because we don't all stand there doing all this very holy stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, my John is a big black African Zulu fella. He called John, because I can't say his name. And he's massive. And I can imagine him stood behind me going, I can feel it down my shoulders. I'm going, yeah, all right. And I can feel them all, and they're all going, right, let's try it again. Point at this woman and say, Kath. I go, oh, does anyone know a Kath? Oh, I can feel it. And one by one, they're all going, oh, take her back to the class. And this is how, and then the next time I went, and they went, right, tonight, say it again. And they would not let me out of it until we got it right. Until in the end, after a couple more services, and all of a sudden it just went bang. And I thought, why am I doing this? Just do as they're asking, because it's fallen on its knees. So in the end, and I just stood there, right in the middle of Margaret's church, and I went, do you know, and there was like 3 or 4 names, Tom, Dick and Harry, and this woman went, yes. I went, I was so freaked. But what I'm trying to say is, I trusted, and the very couple of times that I failed them, and we all went home in the car in silence, and my grandma saying, it's all right, I'll sort her out. Because we have all this conversation. Everybody assumes that the service is over and the medium goes home and I go home for my tea. Yes, that is true. In the meantime, I'm dropping Margaret and Mandy and everybody else off. I've then got to listen to my grandma telling me what I didn't do right, where I failed, so I can make it better next time. And that is, again, about the trust thing.
Yes. Big test,
and it's a big test. I'm in India. And once I did it that once, I could go to the next one then, because I went, yeah, I get it now. And then I put the trust in again. And now when they say to me, here's a full name, give it to this fella here, and I do, and they say, yeah, I know it. Deep down, I'm going, and my John goes, carry on, and tells me off, because now we've got further down. Now, at first, he let me do ka-ching, because obviously then he was going, right, well, she's got it now. And it's that, again, it's about just having that faith in knowing that this beautiful energy doesn't want to steer me wrong, because they want to get that message across.
Yeah.
And they don't want to turn around to anybody and say something miserable. I mean, all these mediums now are bringing miserable messages through. What's that about?
Yeah.
What is that about? Seriously, they want slapping.
Yeah.
Love and light, but seriously, what is that about?
Yeah.
Who are they working with? And that's a very point.
I think going back because they don't have a full understanding of who they are. They've not.
I don't think they know what they're working with. I really do not know. I honestly do believe that. And no, again, I really do question a lot of this mediumship now. They do not know their guides. They don't know what side of the coin that they're working on. They don't know if they're working on the left-hand side, which for me is the lower energies, or we're working to the right-hand side of God, which is the right-hand side, which is the highest and the brightest. So which one do you take it from? And you can see the minute they get up and they step off and they move and they motion, for me, I'm done. I'm mentally I turn off.
Yeah.
And if they go to the wrong side, and if they don't impress me in that first couple of minutes by switching it from the left into the right, after the 10 minutes, I'm done.
Yeah, I agree 100. How would you see it then if you were to set up, you like called spiritual schools for lack of a matter?
Oh, I was thinking of doing this actually, doing a mentoring.
And what sort of stages briefly would you see as incremental as being part of people's teachings, fundamentals?
Straight away, from the minute that, for me, the minute that you want to open up to spirit, that for me, you've got to learn your energy. You've got to know who you are as a person. You've got to know what your energy is doing. You've got to know what your trigger points are, what your fears are, because obviously if there is noise out there, they're going to use that against you every which time. And if your strengths, but also for all the naughties, you've got all your strengths. You've got all your beautiful bits. We talk about generational curses, but what about the good stuff? That your ancestors that actually applaud every time we do something good.
And the work they've done, the gifts.
Yes, the gifts and everything that they bring. Yeah. So when do we ever turn up? You hear all this now about, it's a generational curse, going, oh, shut up. Because for me, every day they're bringing blessings. You're doing something that they're all applauding you for because you're doing it right. And you're helping them get out of this, whatever they were in before. We're helping them with their life's mission and moving it on. But for everything that there's naughty, there's 10 times as good. So for me, the minute the medium starts to work, and it's about understanding what they're hearing and how they're putting it across and how they're feeling it. It's not about how it makes you look. You've seen me work many a time. I don't care if people don't like me. I've said that in churches. I don't care if you don't like me, because I ain't here whether the audience likes me. I'm here to do spirit's work. And if you don't like me, you don't have to book me again. And I've quite happily said that to many, many churches.
Well, I remember you telling me something that happened a long time ago, and that it was a president of somewhere that said, let's see what you're all about. And you said to this person straight up, I'm not here to impress you.
Yeah, and I've said that. I said, I'm not here to impress you, love. And she just went, that look. And I just said, my work's not to impress you. I'm here to work for spirit and the congregation. If they don't like me, that's tough, as long as we get the job done. At the end of it, she came over to me, she went, I like you. So I still don't care. Where's your cake? But to be fair, you've got to be straight with people. If you let people butter you up, again, it's a slippery. The minute that someone says to you, oh, God, Jenny, that was brilliant, that. Oh, you're brilliant. You can get onto that slippery slope of ego run. God, was that brilliant in there?
Yeah.
And walk to the car, and then I'll say to Margaret or Mandy, and say, gosh, was that brilliant in there? Oh, wasn't it a good night? And then we all go home thinking we've got a nice little bit of an ego run. And I've always said to both of them, this is why they come, not just to keep me awake in the car on the way there and back, but that for me is important, because if my ego goes above me, their job is to bring it back down. Yeah, because I know my grandma will. My grandma will. My grandma will actually slap the back of my head and say, take that off. Doesn't happen anymore, because I got used to the slaps. Because again, and I'm quite happy to say it, because again, this is how we learn. Yeah. Because people will say, oh, she's not got an ego. We've been down that one. That's why we haven't got one, because I've had it slapped out of me. And a spiritual slap's a lot bigger than a grandma slap.
Not just with spirit, but like you said, the people that you surround yourself with. We've been the same, myself and Stephen. We travel with other people, and we get in the car and not dissect it, but people. You need people. Truth.
Yes.
Things get very misconstrued.
If we get a bad night, everyone's entitled to a bad night at the office.
Yeah.
And that is my night at the office when I'm doing this. If I have a bad night, I expect that is their job.
Yeah.
Is to say to me, well, that one didn't go around right, and that was right. You could have put that better. Or we can get in the car and laugh all the way home. It just depends how the energy is. And that for me is what our friendship is about. It's about keeping that level of balance, because everything in life has to be balanced. It's not a case of I'm any better than anybody else because I haven't got an ego, because we've been there. You've been there. We all know what it's like to have been there.
Yeah.
And had the taste taken out of our mouth, and had to learn some very sharp lessons very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And therefore now and maybe there's certain days I still got a bit of an ego, because again, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
and we're forever learning. And what I might learn today might be a bit of egotistical for tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? And what I learn tomorrow is what we're chucking out today.
And not to sweep it under the rug. I was talking with somebody about circles the other day, actually. The circle we were brought into, if you had a bit of a funny week, and there was a writing once that Anita did that started it off, and was channeled from those that were running the circle in spirit, saying, you're going to have weeks where you don't always understand. But what's important is the week after, come together, and before you do anything, you have a cup of tea and you chat about it.
Yep.
Talk, put it all on the table. Don't sweep it under the rug. And then you might understand better, and then you move forward. And it's the best way with anything.
In my open circles, that's exactly what we used to start the circle and say, right, does everybody understand what we did last week?
Yeah.
If not, speak now, because there's no point in us moving on.
Yeah.
We can't move on if one person doesn't understand it. We go back and we do it again. And everybody does it again. And I don't care if the cock of the class thinks that, I don't want to do it again. Because for me, that's where the ego then needs a slap.
Yeah.
Because if the weakest member of the class doesn't get it, our duty as loving members of the rest of the circle is to make them understand it. And it might be for 5 weeks, they don't, but that energy may just sit, and all of a sudden the penny may drop. Something will happen where the penny will drop with them. Yeah. And then they play catch up, and everything we've done then falls into its own natural place. Yeah. Doesn't it? Everything has its time. Everything has its place. Yeah. And I just love the way that Spirit organises it.
And clever. I do. They're so, they're
so clever.
They're not daft, the way things come around.
Honestly.
But also what you need to realise as well is that whatever reason, we've come back, part of our soul contract, we've come back to have this experience as well. Maybe we
must be daft.
I'd like to look at that paperwork.
Yeah. To be fair, can we just scrutinise the small print?
I think we should start doing a question.
Yeah, we're ready for a question. So, Jenny.
Oh, dig deep.
Get your hand right in that ball.
Shake them
up. Right, you read it. I haven't got my glasses on.
So the question is, how do you know when spirit are around you? How do you channel it?
Again, it's by actually working on it all the time. It's not a case of spirit. Years and years ago, spirit just used to come wandering in. And again, it's about not knowing who they are. So if that's the case, now what we do is we sit and we work on it every day, even though I might not be working today. In my mind, I'd have been talking or doing something spiritual. And that is what I've done all the time. So for me, it's about learning who my guides are. It's about sitting. It's about getting to know my energy. So when they step in, and I do this little exercise when we do my teaching, where we learn the energies, and we do this for many, many weeks. And then as we get to a point where you understand you, we then ask your guides to step in. And as your guides step in, they step in at a different angle. So each one of them has a set space. So you get to know who they are. And you get to know them. You might see a colour at first. You might get to see a face. Whatever it may be. And bit by bit, then you learn them. You learn their energy. And you ask them to step out and you ask them to step in. And each time, and because they're from the highest and the brightest, they want to do right for you. And they want to teach you how to feel them so you're safe. They don't want to put you in arm's reach. So they want you to ask them questions and say, who are you? Don't be scared of asking these questions. People all think that because they're from the spirit, they're to be honoured and blessed and respected. Yes, of course they are, because they're spirit. But at some point, every one of our guides was here on the earth plane. Every one of them had a job.
We might have been them.
Exactly. They've all been here. They may not be doing our life at this point, but they've all got knowledge. And they've all promised to bring that back to each. For me, me and my guides have a set agenda. And obviously, I obviously don't know the plan as yet. It's a secret plan that only they know. But each of them all have. So I've got a philosopher guide. We have a healing guide. I have my clairvoyant guide. I've got John, who's my protector. And as long as everybody's in place, I've got to know them individually over the years. So you sit in prayer and in meditation. You open up and try this. Just imagine putting a big circle around you. And from 12 o'clock right in front of you to 6 o'clock behind you, 3 o'clock to the right of you, 9 o'clock to the left of you. Everything from 12 all the way around to 6 is the highest and the brightest. Everything from 6 all the way back up to 12 is the lower energies. So if you're suffering with depressions and anxieties, you'll find that energy sits here. If everything's of the highest and the brightest, it'll come in here. So when your guides come in from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, there's 30 minutes there, if you can imagine it in that manner, for any of them to come in at that angle. And you ask them one at a time to step in, and you ask them to step out. And each time you ask them, are you here to work for my highest good? They've got to tell you the truth. Because even the naughty ones will try and lie to you, but they know because you're asking them, there's universal laws. In the end, they've got to fess it up because you're asking them directly. Does that make sense? So by asking them to step in, you'll then get to know. You might see a colour, you might hear a name, you might see a female or a male. Whatever they give you, you take, you absorb it, and then you ask them to step out. Then you ask them to step back in. The power will come in with them. So any time that they step in, over time, you'll get to know which guide it is without you even having to open up and think. Does that make sense?
Nature then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it does become, and after a bit, if my John walks in, automatically I go, oh, protection's here, something's not right. See what I mean? So I'm looking.
Do you ever get that when you walk into a venue?
Oh, yeah.
And does that sometimes, because we talk about personal responsibility, and I think as a medium, there's a lot of expectation that, you're going to have a link no matter what. Now, do you think sometimes the energy in the venue can affect the mediumship or not?
Oh, I think anywhere you go can affect it. And people's state of mind. And I think there's people who come intentionally to block you from working. Oh, believe me, there's that as well. There are those intentionally. Just because we're all working with spirit, again, always remember there is two sides to the coin. Yeah. So whatever we're working with, which is the highest and the brightest, there's always going to be somebody out there who would rather you not work as well as you think. Whether you're a good healer, you're a good listener or a counsellor, whatever our work is, there's always going to be somebody who would rather you not. And therefore, there will always be somebody. I've gone to churches where mediums have sat in front of me and done that. And I've literally had to just look at them and then take it straight to my guide and go, what's that doing? What is that? And and basically all I say to them is glass belly, or remove it. Or the energy's coming on my left-hand side, and my John said, do not step to your left. Somebody's putting something there. Yeah. And you know me, I walk up and down. But then all of a sudden I'll start to walk and there'll be a barrier. Spiritual barrier being placed there because now, and he's doing his job because that then is his job. He's making me aware of that, and he's saying, don't provoke us, Jenny. Stay over there. We're trying to sort this out because there's energy being sent to us. Or there might be my clairvoyant guide. He's bringing me things, and somebody's trying to block that by using their energy. Believe me, just because they say they're spiritual, not everybody is as nice as they look like.
But your awareness, you talk about going back to your development
all the time,
is so useful because you pick up on it. It's like an antenna. You know what to do. You know who to call.
And I was never taught any of this.
But you've had to. But you've learned.
And I've learned it. I've never been taught this physically. When I sat in a circle in the SNU churches, it was a case of, this is your grounding, this is where it is, let's just get on with it. When Spirit took me away and sat me in my conservatory, this is what they taught me, what I'm saying to use. And this is what I've gone by. I can't tell you what the SNU taught me because I threw that out with the rule book many, many years ago. I listened to Spirit, and if they say, don't walk there, I don't walk there. If I walk there and something happens, they all stand over there going, and they do that face, and I'm going, right, should we try that one again? Because it is a learning curve, and they're all, so listen, feel for it. Some of you may not hear it, you may not see it, you may not feel it. All of you may have a different sense. Doesn't matter what the sense is. Feel it, hear it, taste it, know it, just become it. And I always say that to every medium when they're starting off. Become the energy, whatever the energy may be. If you're hearing it at that point, if you don't hear it right, don't be scared of going, sorry, can you just replay that again? Take that back and replay it. What was that feeling? Give it me again. Because if they want you to get it right, they will.
Yeah.
And they do. That's all their job is to make sure you get it right, because they want to anchor the energy, because they've got a job. And they are infinitely lighter than we are, so they need something to anchor. And we're at the bottom of the triangle. We are the connection at the bottom. So all that triangle of energy all got to come to a drip point. And to be fair, we're it. And we are. We're all it. And you all have to anchor. It's not just because I'm the medium and you're the medium. You're all doing your work. And you have to anchor the point. You are the anchor point.
I think that's where when you speak to people in their congregation or the one-to-one reading, their voice is so important, because it anchors
the energy.
It's like a telephone cord. You have to use the voice as an anchor through you to that client, and the stronger the anchor, the stronger the link. Because sometimes it's so frustrating when they sit silent and they don't talk
I was
to
thinking, because you use that word often, anchor. You know, I need your voice. It
anchors that energy.
When I say that to people, I mean, now I've got to a point. I said it to a chap last week, and he sat there and he went. I get so annoyed now, and I just look at him and go, cross your arms. I said, it looks like you're fed up. And I know what, then everybody look at them and they uncross it quick and then they start to answer you that. But it's not about embarrassing them, it's about getting that energy, because you've already expressed that. I need your voice. You've got so many good things going on, you're here, and whatever you can do here, just imagine that multiplied and then multiplied again. Because when you work on it each time, you get it better, it multiplies again. And we don't add on. The Creator doesn't do add-ons. He does multiplication. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So therefore, they always say, don't you, if you go deaf, another sense becomes more acute. So just imagine when you hear and you work on it and you say, take that back, bring me back again. You might not be clairaudient, but you may be clairvoyant. So you might be going, what did you just say then? Yeah. But actually, Auntie Doris has just walked past and you're taking no notice of her because you're too busy listening to what you thought they said, which was hello. But Auntie Doris has just walked past. So what do? Do you take notice of Auntie Doris walking past? Or do you go, what was that? Right, is that it? Oh, hello. Do you know what I mean? Instead of stopping and saying, oh, Auntie Doris has just walked past, bring her back. Let me describe her. Then you've got more of a message. So don't assume just because you've got that one bit, believe me, the time spirit have emptied your head of all the experiences and everything that's in there, you've got a message. Nobody will tell me otherwise. It's practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Yeah. Honestly. So come on then, Slate.
Should we do next question? Yeah, Chris, you can go next one. Dig deep.
Big things, aren't they? Big questions.
Big questions.
Oh, this is quite similar, this one. How did you learn to connect with spirit to give messages?
Watch podcast number 1 with Jenny.
Yeah. No, it is. It's just, again, just watch that. All I would say on this one is, obviously, that's my journey. But when we're talking about how to connect, is having faith. Have faith.
Yeah.
Do never underestimate your own potential. And feel it. Know it. If it feels good, it usually is.
Yeah.
If it feels bad, it usually is.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, and you'll feel it in your heart. Just know that the body, for me, the body is split up into 3. You've got the lower aspects, you've got the balancing aspects, and then you've got the upper aspect. Everything here is to keep the physical body and the grounding, and that then connects you to the earth. Here is your heart, is the balancer, depending on which day we're feeling good or crappy. Does that make sense? And then we've got obviously all the blues and the purples and the golds, which connect you to the highest, which is getting to the right-hand side. So now, if you can imagine your seesaw, if your energies today are a bit rubbish because we've had a bit of a depressed day, you then got to listen to your energy. If your energies are going like that, you might be a bit hyper. Does that make sense? You might be spiritually quite hyper, but your energy is quite low. On the same part is you might be very spiritually low, but again, you're very earthly minded. Does that make sense? Very materialistic.
Yeah.
So, but by bringing in the balance, you then balance up both sides, because both sides, it's not a case of this side is evil, so we'd have nothing to do with it. This is the motherly side. This is the male side. The mother side gives life. It's connected to Mother Earth. And this side is the father side. It's connected to the sky. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So therefore, by balancing this all up, we must have, it's duality. It's male and female. It's yin and yang.
Yeah.
So we must have the two. And that's why we get the connection of both of them working together. And that's why I don't do the normal meditations where energy comes in both feet and cascades out your head. Can't cope with it. For me, it comes in your left, it comes straight in, and again, the figure 8 comes and crosses into the throat, around the head, and down the right-hand side, back into the earth. And again, my hands are now in the earthric. This is now connecting me to the earth. This is the earthric. Everything I'm feeling here, and as a medium, I'm walking around, I'm feeling it like a soup. Everything I'm feeling here is coming in and going through me. Does that make sense? So all the time, my energy is, because I know it, I work it, I understand my energy. So I'm working now. Once you keep your balance, when you can actually do connect with spirit, you bring in both sides. And it is, I can't explain it, I can't put it into words because it's just so perfectly balanced. Because then spirit understands you, because you understand you. And therefore your messages and your connection get stronger each every time. Does that make sense?
So, turning the question around a little bit, we talk about working with, as mediums. We work with spirit when we do readings and healing and treatments and things like clairvoyant services. Do you communicate with spirit at home? When you go shopping?
No.
Have you got those strong boundaries then?
No. When I need to connect with spirit, I'll go and have my time with spirit. When I'm out shopping, you'd be surprised how many people go, "Are you Janet?" Well, I'm just picking my mints up. Seriously, that has happened. I'm just picking my mints up, and they go, "Are you out for me?" And it's happened in Asda a few times, to be fair. Not naming just certain shops, but it's happened at market and all. To the point where this lady followed me all around the market, and in the end, I was like, and I can hear this. I'm thinking, jeez, I can hear things. I can hear voices. I'm walking around the market and all I can hear is Jenny. And I'm going, and that for me is like, if I can hear something, something's not right. So I'm going, help. There's nobody there. And in the end, it was this woman, 2 sisters. And in the end, I saw you the other week at the wherever, loved it, and yada, lovely ladies. And in the end, I went, oh, look, love, you're about the same size as my daughter. Can you just try this coat on for me? Because I had to turn it, but seriously, because when I'm out, I'm doing Jenny stuff, because I have to have my mind on Jenny stuff, because my life is too busy. Spirit gets a good 70% of me, because I'm usually out a lot of time, most nights. So I'm quite happy to give them, they know my diary more times than I do. They're ready to work each and every time. But the bit of time I get, I have to have me stuff. If I hear spirit walking around my house, they don't wake me up at 2 a.m. We don't get any of that.
Spot on. Spot on.
I'll tell you now, nobody. I'd like to see the devil himself try and wake me up at 2 a.m. Because there will be in hell. Seriously, and I say it for that reason, because I do not do it. When I'm sleeping, I'm sleeping. When I'm working, I'm working. When I'm doing my glamour stuff, I'm doing my glamour stuff. Whatever I'm doing, I'm doing. When I'm driving, I'm driving.
There's a lot of people. So it is, but there's so many people, particularly who are starting off their journey. Which is great because you're enthusiastic and you're passionate, but it's always too open.
Yes,
and the
that's where again
always open. They're picking
where disease comes
at night time during the day. It's 24 hours.
I used to go out with a lady years and years ago, and we used to go to. She didn't have to live far from the main town centre, so we used to walk it into town. And on the way, this is why after this experience we got good boundaries, because we'd walk through the town and she'd go, "Are you Sheila? Oh, your mum's with you. Oh, you're right, love." And I'd be, what? What was that? Because we'd just been taught not to do this. And I'm walking down the street going, what was that? It's all right, Jenna. Carry on. Oh, you're all right, Tracy. Oh, sorry about your Brian. Anyway, it's all right. He stood next to you. See you later, love. Honestly. And we did this about 4 times. I walked into town with her a couple of times, and each time she spoke to about 4 or 5 people doing this all around market, all around shops. Are you all right? Look. And I was stood there in awe, going, because I'm thinking, I don't get any of this. What is wrong with me? So I went back and said to my guides, what is she doing? Why can't I do that? And my guy said, well, why do you want to do that? And I went, because she's doing it, and that's obviously the way it's got to be done. He said, no. He says, and you're not doing it, because right now, physically, you can't hold that amount of energy. We don't want you open all the day. He says, that's why she's got diabetes. Because she's open all of the time. He says, and you're not, and you don't want diabetes, and you want to get healthy. And at the time, again, we've talked about that, but I was really ill, and that's why I came looking for spirit. The point is, I'm getting stronger and stronger. A lot of mediums are getting weaker and weaker. Then tell me who's doing it right.
There's a core energy.
Yes, and it sits.
It has to last a
lifetime, and it's where your pancreas sits.
Yeah.
Your solar plexus. It's right over it. These people are walking around like big beacons, thinking they're doing God's work. God love them. And they're all walking around going, hey, you have a bit of that, and you have a bit of this, and you have a bit of that. Nobody's drawing any of the energy back.
Yeah.
Nobody's anchoring that energy. So you're literally anchored now to, say, 100 people, because you've seen them that day, walking past them down the street.
Drawing your energy, yeah.
They're all in a depressed world, because, again, everybody walks down the street is, I'm not saying everybody is, but the majority of people, just generally, just going through Asda. I mean, that's a torment in itself, isn't it? Or Morrison's, or wherever it doesn't matter. Well, no matter where you go, shop-wise, the minute you go to do your normal shop, wherever it may be, could be Tesco's. But the point being is, the minute you go in there, does any of you actually put your protection up? Does any of you? Does that make sense? Because if you don't, everybody who walks past you who's out shopping because they're depressed and therefore is buying rubbish because they need a sugar rush, or they need a fix, or chocolate fix, or whatever it might be, or they're just out spending money because whatever the situation. We always go and do some sort of shop or retail therapy when we're at our lowest, don't we?
Yeah.
Or when we're the most hungriest, or whatever's going on in life. A lot of the time you can walk through Asda or wherever and pick up everybody else's ailments.
But it's a great, if you want to teach people about energy, walk into a supermarket.
You'll know it.
Yeah,
and right now, once you start to learn, you walk in one day and put all your protection up. You'll walk out dancing.
Yeah.
You walk in another day and say, today I won't put it up.
Yeah.
You're licking the windows on the way out. Seriously, you are because you've just literally run the biggest
zombies,
honestly,
vampires.
and they're all sucking the energy because and that is why these places are built in such big places. Like they're not small shops like they were corner shops where you can get 1 or 2 people in and an exchange of energy. That's why they made that big. Everything's been done for a reason.
A lot of people, and I've experienced this before, particularly, you have to rush in, you're picking a loaf of bread up or a bit of fruit. Particularly after healing or mediumship, I went, I feel sick.
Yes.
It hits you right
in your stomach. And then
straight away, white like yourself, straight away.
And I remember I taught a class many years ago, and I said about, and we had a lady in the class at the time. She was one of them strange people. That's quite a strange lady. Anyway, God love her, she had issues. And anyway, so I was telling this to everybody in the class, and I said, next time you're out, make sure you put your glass dome up or whatever it might be. So anyway, our friend, I was in a particular shop, and all of a sudden this lady in our class comes running down shouting her name. And my friend turns around, and then she Margaret, and she turned around and she went, all I could remember was put a glass dome up. She put a glass dome up, and this lady come down shouting, oh, Mandy. And she said it was like bees hitting the glass. She says all you could hear was, and she's not spiritually, even though she tries, she's very spiritual in her ways, but she doesn't want to learn it any further than what she needs.
Yeah.
So for her, just learning the protection was enough. And once she put this glass dome on, she said, you know, Jenny, she says, I couldn't hear what she was talking about, but it just felt like bees hitting the glass. Now, do you see my point? That you really must learn to protect yourself. It's not good enough you just coming to church and going home again. You must learn to protect your home, your energy, your whatever you've got that you hold dear, protect it, because we're being slaughtered.
It's your sacred space. You know, it's like your crystals and healing. You don't let anybody touch them. Your body's your temple. It's sacred. Everything's sacred. Your home's your sanctuary. It needs protection. It's not because people are always evil or bad. It's that we're constantly exchanging energy, and that has to be cleared, maintained. We mentioned a few years spiritual hygiene. Everything has to be cleansed and looked after. You know, I think that's really, really important.
We talk about it a lot when people come here for healing treatments or sessions, saying it's important what you do when you leave now. There's no point, like you say, going straight to Asda. Yeah. How are you going to feel? Are you going to just get it with it straight away? You know,
exactly. I had this conversation yesterday to somebody, and I said, you know, the minute you walk out of here now, determines what the rest of your day is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might just walk out of here now feeling dead, airy, spacey, and lovely, and all healed, and then nip to Asda on the way home, and you get home and you go, oh, that was a waste of time. Not realising you just walked in there and whatever you've just had has just been dragged up and down the street. Yeah. I can't tell you how important it is to look after the self. If nothing else, if you learn nothing else about spirit, learn to love you, protect you, and everything that you hold dear. Because if you don't, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And it will not be the ones that you want. Because the ones that you don't, the ones that can take it, will come in and take it. The ones who can protect it, you've not asked for it, so you can't have it. There's a law of the universe, and you have to give them permission to bring it. So if you don't ask for it, sweet, you're not getting nothing. But there's always going to be somebody. There's that old saying, whatever you give to somebody, there's always a taker to take it.
Yeah.
When you come to give of your energy and to give of, there's always going to be somebody who'll absorb everything you give them. Takers always take. So be on the right side of it. Look after the self. Because if you don't...
And that's not because people are necessarily bad.
They're not bad. They're
consciously, they've not done that inner work.
They're crying for help.
But also sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes saying no, having those boundaries up actually helps them more, because otherwise you're going to play into their victim state, and there will be projections, and they'll feed off your ego, and you went, oh, look what I'm doing, and things like that.
Look at Jenna, she's healed me. No, I haven't.
It's interesting what you said before. I thought, gosh, reading my mind here with that question. Because I wanted to ask sort of on the other side of the coin a bit. I agree with everything you said about just the work and, having healthy boundaries.
You've got to have.
Has there been an example outside of working time when that connection with spirit has come in very useful?
Yes. Again, most probably think I'm always in Asda, but I'm not.
Yeah, other supermarkets are available.
Plenty of others. But again, I was actually in a queue, in a shop, with a name, but either way, with a big trolley. And I was actually stood there, and spirit came in, and that's when you go away. I'm in the queue, shut up. And you start doing all that, because we do have some fun. Go away. Stop pushing me in. And my John said to me, speak to the lady in front. Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? We're in Asda, love. We're not doing a clairvoyant meeting. And they say, speak to the lady in front. And I actually say to him, we'll tell you when we get there. Start the conversation. You should see some of the faces I pull. And I'm there, and I went, right. So now I've got to speak to a little old lady in front of me. I've got to get the conversation going and ask her, does she believe in dead people? Okay. Okay, so this is where we're going to go with this, are we? And he goes, yes. She needs to hear this, because she'll never, ever come across somebody else to give her a message. And right now, that soul needs it. If nobody else in this room now, she does. And now, that's why you're stood here. Give her the message. And then you've got to try and find a way of saying, hello, love. Oh, you all right? Is your husband dead? Do you know what I mean? How else can you... Do you see my point? You've got to try and bring it round. When I used to do reflexology, I had to do the same thing. And when I used to say to people, I'm here to do a therapy. I'm doing reflexology. I am not bringing a granny in. And I'll be out there doing that, and Spirit will go, you're doing the healing. The healing also encompasses bringing in this, because this is what she requires. And this one day I did it. I went to Wales, did all these ladies, and I was doing this lady's foot, doing all that. You're all right, love. And then Spirit is scaring me. Can you just, right. And I'm thinking, right, how can I, and this is the very first time I did it, and I thought, how am I going to bring this subject up to this woman? And they said, just bring it up. And I went, right. I says, you never guess. I went to a funny place the other night. The lymphatic system's really clogged there. Just really rubbing your lymphatic system. You got a bad back. Doing all that. Went to a funny place the other night. Went to a spiritualist church. And at that, she went, oh, I love them places. I went, oh, thank God for that. I've got a message for you. And seriously, at that, a horse came in. Never seen a horse before in the Spirit. This horse's head come in, and I went. And this blooming big horse's head come in. And the horse then said, tell her this, this, and this. And I'm going, I felt like Dr. Ed. I'm going, talking horse. Okay. And my John stood behind me going, just say it. Say it. And I'm going, right, I've got a horse. And do you know what? At that, she burst into tears. I told her what the horse had told me. And as she was having the horse put down, every day she obviously loved the horse, and every day she went, she was having such a rubbish life at that point. She used to go every day and offload to the horse. And the horse knew everything she'd said. And the horse brought it all back. I'm going cold now because the horse brought it all back. And she cried and she cried. And that learnt me a massive lesson. Because when Spirit said, now do you see? What you're doing is now connecting with the healing. Watch her energy. Watch the colours. Watch the aura change. And watch us actually come in now and take away what we need to. So now she may heal. And I sat there and I went, okay. And that. So now when they say, tell this little old lady Nellie in front that dead husband Frank is knocking about, I go, okay. I don't question it now, but it's very rare, but I will do it. I will do it because it is our job.
Trust.
It is.
Yeah. Amazing.
Time for the next one.
Shall I do the next one?
Yeah. Shake them off.
Well, it's a long one. Is there a certain amount of time a spirit needs to have passed over before they can communicate through medium? And can all spirit communicate through any medium if they choose to?
Ooh, good one, that.
That's two questions.
That's two all in one, that.
So is there
who said that one? Good question.
We asked that first. So
the first question.
Is there a certain amount of time the spirit needs to have passed over before they can communicate?
I've had them the same day. I've had spirit the same day. As they've passed, I was doing a service in Skemersdale, and as I was doing the service, the lady had passed that morning, and she'd walked in that night. And because she was a believer, she knew she could. That was the difference. For me, they understood, not the case of, they understood spirit. They understood the difference between heaven and hell. They understood there was something else. And therefore, their heart carried the right energy for me and the right vibration and frequency. And therefore, they understood it and therefore could do them. They didn't have to go straight off to spirit. They knew they could step into that energy and remain around their family. And more importantly, I think, spirit also taught me years ago that for about 6 to 8 weeks, that person, once they've passed, are allowed to stand within that energy.
Yeah.
Within that next realm and be there for as long as it takes, about 8 weeks, until the last bit of the soul is collated, because it can take up to 3 days for the physical body to die and every cell within the physical body, even though, and that's why a lot of religions have their ceremony within 3 days, because that's then the collection of the soul.
Yeah.
For us, obviously we take it a lot longer, but it could take up to 72 hours for all of the cells to actually finish dying. Even though the physical body's dead itself, but the actual cell layer takes time, up to about 72 hours. So therefore, if they then want to be situated within the next realm of spirit in order to keep connected to, let's say my dad, who passed not long ago, my dad wanted to sit within that next realm to make sure everybody was okay before he moved on, then he was at will to do that.
Yeah.
I do believe also if you've passed with, let's say, a trauma, you've been knocked down, spirit will snatch you out of the body very, very swiftly and then take you to a place of healing or shield you or guide you. And obviously, especially for children and things of this nature, and they take them straight away from the situation. And it just very much depends on the actual death, I feel, as well.
Definitely.
If you've got a cancerous death, which has absorbed every bit of life and energy from that body, it takes a lot of soul energy then to keep that energy balanced within that next realm. So a lot of the time they can't sustain it for much. Does that make sense? So if you've got an heart attack, but you're not a case of physically well, but some people are physically well and they just die with an heart attack, they can stay within that energy. I had a friend, Tony, who passed with cancer, but he understood spirit. And for about 4 or 5 weeks, he didn't get to 8 weeks, he stayed within that energy. So he knew his wife, Joan, was okay. And then he came and said, I have to go now, Jenny, I'm very tired. I said, fine.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they go off to the summer land, in which case then they get replenished. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the second part of the question, can all spirit communicate through any medium?
No.
I agree with you.
No.
Yeah.
I honestly, and I say, people say to me, I never get a message. And I think that comes from that person as well, because they send out an energy of, I never get a message. So therefore, they're blocking themselves. But spirit-wise, of course, they're all, again, there's two sides to every coin. Some of them we don't want to be talking to. But the ones that we do want to be talking to, imagine we're all an orchestra. I'm in the violin section, and Stephen's in the drum section, and Chris is in, I don't know, whatever, so trumpet section, the brass section. If spirit, and you're all spirit, and this lady here knows that she plays in the sort of the string instruments, you know, therefore my energy can pick up everything that's in the string instrument section. Does that make sense? So it might be a cello or a violin or a guitar, but you know roughly I'm going to be able to pick your energy up. But this lady here may be in Chris, what's your name? Stephen's section, in which case then the drum, I can't pick that because it's a different tone altogether.
Yeah.
So therefore it's a different vibration. So you might want to get to the end of the queue, and my guide might say, if she gets to you, we might be able to pick it up. But now, and then we might get to the trombone section, which is like, no, I'll go and stand over there. She's never going to get to you lot. So for me, it's like an orchestra. It's very much on vibration and frequency. What my vibration is, and that's why you can give a message to somebody and not hit the mark, and you know you just give them a cracking message. And then you can come along and do it in your way, and bang, the same message, excuse me, vibrates with them, and it gets to the heart. Does that make sense?
In essence, spirit will give the person what they need, what they want. And I found this in readings as well, where people have this expectation and want this particular person. I think that can block spirit as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes it's maybe you talk about maybe a father figure coming in where their relationship with the daughter wasn't great. And it was something that was unhealed, that needs to be healed in order for that energy to disperse as well. Have you found that as well?
I did one earlier in the year. I get everything in blocks, me. Again, like I've said before, like if I get a depression, I might get a run of depression. You get that, don't you? Yeah. You get a run of a certain, and then I had a theme of women coming for readings where either mother or a lot of them were mothers from the spirit. They had no relationship.
Yeah.
And I had this block where this was going on. And I think Spirit was trying to teach me something at the same time. But that time, I opened up to this one particular lady. And actually, just the week before that, I had quite a few ladies who loved their mums, and their mums loved them. To the point where it was actually smothered. It felt like it was choking me. Does that feel weird? Because I felt like, if you don't understand that energy, if I've never had that energy, it felt like it was smothering me. Because this energy of this lady from the Spirit coming in and loving her daughter and talking about the love that she had for this girl. And the girl sat there crying her eyes out because her and her mum were bezies.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And then a week later, it was like, change the bus, because now we got a different bus load coming in. And there's bus load coming for that week, and it was all the women who hated their daughters. Serious. And I opened the door, and this lady come walking in, and this lovely girl sat there, and I just said, "Oh, I got your mum here." And this girl just went. Her face never changed. She obviously, she must have thought, I'm not going to give nothing away. I love them people who come for readings and don't want to show anything. They sit there going,
poker face.
All the way through. And I went, your mum's here. I was dead chuffed to see her. You know what I mean? I went, hiya, love, you coming in? This woman walked in, she went, do I have to? Oh, I went, what? Right, can you just tell her? She couldn't stick me, I couldn't stick her, but I'm here anyway. Tell her that. Oh, well. And as soon as I said it, it's not going to be nice, this, love. I said, but I've got to say it exactly. I said it exactly word for word. The girl went, oh, thank God for that. I went, what? She says, I can't tell you how many mediums I've been to, and they've all told me my mum loves me. And they all told me how much my mum shines and lovely and she's spiritual and she's this, that and the other. She says, you're the only one who actually to get a bang on. That's, and then she can come in and then she can try and repair it. Yeah, but that is where the healing starts. When the mother comes in and says, she hated me, I hated her, we fought every day, whatever the situation is. But you know what? I've got to stand here now and I've got to learn to see the bigger picture of what I've created. And every day I've got to watch my daughter suffer with what I've created. That's where the healing starts. And that is where, for me, the beauty of it comes in. It's so powerful. I can't tell you. Spirit are so clever.
Comes back to truth again, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Well? Honestly, they're so... These days, I'll say to Margaret, these days I get in the car and I just go, wow, where on earth did that come from? I couldn't make it up. And I'm good at making stuff up. But I find myself just sitting there going, wow. There's a story for everything. Yeah. And the stories that you've never even heard of, honestly. There's some evil out there. And I've had those in read. I had a lady come once, she was a beautiful healer. A lady in her 70s, and she said, I've been waiting 60 years, Jenny, just to be a medium. I went, right. So I want to be a medium. Can you ask Spirit why? That's what you're working. You're working with Spirit in the highest form, which is to work with somebody's soul. I says, what I'm doing, I work on this level because I can get to them with the way I do it. Anyway, and she wanted to find out. And in the end, my John came in. He's very, very straight to the point. And he said to me, ask the lady, does she want to be a healer or does she want to be a medium? That much. Now, that week, I'd had a few. I had a murder. I had an abuse. People don't think of all this because everyone assumes your granny's going to come in and talk about, oh, do you remember we went to the park and we did something lovely? There are horror stories that also need to be spoke about because that is where the healing starts. And again, and that week, I'd had a young girl come in and she'd been murdered by her husband in South Africa and been left for dead. And I said this to this old lady and I said, can you give that as a reading? And she went, oh no, Jenna. She said, oh no, I don't want to be a medium doing that. She said, I just want to do the nice bits. I said, well, there's your answer. Yeah. Because not every day is it going to be a nice day. I said, I would love to sit and say, your granny loves you every day. Yeah. I said, because it's nice. I said, but you know what? You've got to be able to talk about the subjects. Nobody wants to talk about abuse. Nobody wants to talk about being hurt. Nobody wants to talk about that. But you know what? When that father comes in or that granddad comes in and there's issues there that really do need grasping and sorting and that soul needs holding, and that child that's just been lost comes into all those is where your work starts.
Yeah.
And this lady sat there, and God love her, she's a beautiful lady, and she just went, oh no, Jenna. She said, no, I don't want to do it. If I've got to do that, I just want to give the nice messages. Can't I just give the nice ones? I said, well, when do we know? She said, well, tell Spirit just to send the ones that are nice. I said, well, that's where we'll leave it then. There's your answer, love. That's the answer they've given me. You know, she got up and she right with a right off and walked out. Never spoke to me again. Like it was my fault. Like I just went, well, you can't be a medium then.
You want to ask the question, be prepared for the answer.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
100%.
So I think, should we do one more question?
One more really good questions. Those last ones.
We'll have to do part 3, I think.
Yeah.
Right, you have to read that.
Do you want me to read it? This one?
It looks like real writing.
Here we go.
It's my handwriting.
Oh, real writing. You can't even read what he
This is the
wrote.
last one. Here we go. Does religion have a place in spirituality or spiritualism?
No. For me, it doesn't. It's all, I think religion is man-made. And I think it's there to keep you in control. And I think your spirit is within you. My church is here. I could go and sit in a field and speak to God. I can sit wherever and open up and have connection with my God. I don't have to sit in the church. I don't have to come and do a service. And that's why now I'm starting to move more into the pub work again. Not because, it's all good money or whatever. It's because there's people out there who will never, ever get connected. I can sit here and do a church service every week, which I've done for the last 20 odd years, as most of you know. It's like shooting ducks in a barrel. Don't mean that.
People go and
it's the same story.
Yeah.
And that's why mediums love doing the churches, because it's the same story. Everyone's a believer. In theory, I love coming to churches and centres and doing them, so don't misplace that. But it has its place and it has its time. Yeah. But religion-wise, I don't want nothing to do with the run of it. I don't want nothing to do with these are the rules, because there's universal laws that I adhere to.
Yeah.
I don't adhere to anything that man has made. If a man has touched it, to be fair, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Excuse me, we sat here.
Suck it up, cupcake. I'll eat your cake though. If it's something to munch on, I'll eat that. But seriously, if a man's mauled it, we're having nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Because for me, that is where doctrine comes in. It's where control comes in. Because it's been man's law. And again, notice, but it's been man's law to keep women in their place, no matter what religion. And we know there's religions out there who you've got to wear headscarves and coverings and this and that and the other, because men want to have their own life and religion and go off and do whatever it is they want to do. And again, I know you're sad, but I know you understand it. Yeah. But because they want to try and keep women's energy, because women hold the power. I don't care what anyone says.
No, you're right.
Not because we're all women and we're all going to beat you up in a minute.
Creators.
We are creators.
That's why they wiped all powerful women out of the history books as well.
Exactly, and anybody. And this is why it's so important now that we stand our ground. They've tried to make us all go out to work, so we disconnect ourselves from our children. So we can't keep that energy rolling from generation to generation, because they've always known. The noughties have always known. And this has been in operation now for hundreds of years.
They have the same knowledge. They have the same spiritual knowledge as the light workers, but they can twist it.
Of course they can. And they do not realise, all of us do not realise the power we hold. Yeah. And I'm telling you, and men, I got told many years ago, again, with the SNU side of life, by a medium, a female medium, and she said, I used to go out and do rescues. I still do go out and do rescues or a removal of spirit, we call it what you will. And she said, Jenny, you can't go. I said, well, why is that? She said, because you're a woman. I said, I'm sorry. I was gobsmacked.
I'm gobsmacked if that's even happening.
Yeah, seriously. And to be fair, she's, again, because it's, this is like 20 years ago. And she was a lady in her 80s, but she'd gone through all the way through the SNU. Do you know what I mean? And she said, you can't do it. And I said, well, why can't I do it, Margaret? She says, because you're a woman. She said, women don't do that. She says, It's in the SN rules years and years ago that women, and
that's true. I have heard that.
That women, because of our hormones, and apparently we're quite unbalanced. Too emotional. Yeah. We're unbalanced mentally and emotionally and spiritually. The men deemed it that the women didn't hold the power and they don't own the strength, and therefore it has nothing to do with a woman. Go home and make cake. Go and sit in the corner and sit and drink tea. The men will do all that. So one of my friends said this to me. Obviously, I'm an ex-soldier. I don't take that. And I just went, oh, it's tough, Margaret. I said, because I'm going. And to be fair, she just sat there and she laughed and she just went, I know you are. She says, and they will move. She says, because they don't realise what you're dealing with. And then she actually, because she was in for the women, but she was being sarcastic because that's what she was. She was my little guru in one respect. But she taught me how this is how women have been placed within religion to take no part in it. And to have, obviously now you can have vicars and priests, and they're only allowing women in now because, again, under their own rules.
Yeah.
And you've got to do it our way and you can't run it your way. I don't want any part of that. I want to just be Jenny.
But does that not hinder your own growth and your authenticity?
No.
So it's about being free and separate.
Yeah. When I go out and do a service, when someone says to me, "We knew you were here, Jenny," when I used to smoke and I used to be stood outside having a fag, people knew I was there before I'd gone in the church because my energy went in and told them I was there.
Yeah.
When I've got mediums or people on the door saying, "We know you're here," not because they could hear me, because I felt your energy before you came through the door. That is what we need to be. We need to go back to that. We need to remember the power. Every one of us. It's not a case I'm any better than you. I've just got a bigger mouth than most of you. Seriously, and that's why I've got this job of shouting the loudest. Not everybody can do being the medium. You're all here to do your own job. You're all here to be the creator of counsel, the creator of listening, the creator of healing, the creator of whatever it may be. Yeah. We're here to hold it because not all of us can be the medium. If we're all the medium, there is no healers. There is no listeners. There is no feeders and there's no bringer-uppers. There's none of the creation that we need. We've all got to put our pitching together and don't sit there going, well, she's the healer. Oh, well, you are what you are. It's what the job you asked for.
Yeah.
So suck it up, stand your ground, actually light yourself up. When I go out to go and do a clearance in somebody's house who think they've got something naughty, I don't walk in there going, oh, there's going to be a naughty spirit in here. I walk in there saying to my guides, let's go and get it. Not because I'm a cocky, it's because I believe in what I've got.
And that's so powerful. When you know who you are, Jenny, you're in your
And I'll tell you that, when I walk into somebody's house and some 8-year-old kiddie says to me, there's a big man stood behind you, and I go, I know. Do you know what I mean? There is no power. And not because he's like 7 foot, but behind him, there's a horde of women. Do you know what I mean? So I've got Mira, one of my guides. I've got Elizabeth, one of my guides. These women don't just sit there going, you're right, Jenny. You're right. Come on then, let's see what we can do. They don't do any of that. They stand there and they go, let's go in. This is what, you get to know your guys, you get to know your energy. I am telling you, once you create this beautiful connection, nothing can, and that's what they're scared of. That is what the outside world is scared of. What together we can create when we stand together and we put our light together. All this nastiness will stop tomorrow. It will stop tomorrow because we are all stand in our own purity, our own light, our own strength. And once we do, we knock the rest of it out.
Jenny, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Such an interesting podcast.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better way to sort of top it off. Better words. It's been so interesting, and we'll definitely have to do part 3, 4.
Are you willing to come down again?
Yeah, also consider it depends how good your cake is.
We'll let you know that. It's gluten free.
Oh God, it's got cream in it though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
And raspberry.
So we just want to thank Jenny for sharing the time
You're welcome.
and knowledge and
Thank you.
experience. Everybody that you can't see currently on here that's been part of this energy, some lovely people here that will contribute their questions, and through asking those questions, that's when some wonderful knowledge and experience is able to come forward. It's like a spark that we can all have over each other in these lovely environments. So thank you so much. And if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, feel free to have your comments, have your say as well. If you've got experience, pass it on. This is a sharing and open forum. Until we speak again, we send lots of love. Say goodbye, everyone.